Well, hello everybody. My first live stream. I don't know if there is an everybody. I don't know if I'm the only one here. But I thought, let's just try this. Because a lot's going on in the world, particularly in the United States. So I'm Deborah, also known as the Plastic House Lady, because I live in Rwanda in East Africa, and I'm building the first house made with plastic bricks. This is the first house in the country, so it's pretty exciting, and it's a lot of work. Been working on the house now for more than a year, and I think we just have less than 6 months to go and it should be done. So I'm looking forward to that. So tonight I wanted to talk about leaving America, and if that's on your mind, kind of reviewing some of the things that are important for you to know. Because I listen to other YouTubers talk about it, and they talk about a lot of important things. But since I've lived in Rwanda for 3 years now, a little over 3 years, I've had a chance to observe a lot of people who've come and gone, and maybe have understanding on a different level about what it takes to live and make your way in a foreign country. So that's what I want to talk to you about. And let's start with a couple of facts. One is that half of Los Angeles residents considered or are considering leaving the US after convicted felon Trump's election win. And I'll tell you why I use quotes a little later. There's been a 1,500% increase in queries about leaving the country since his election win. And the reason I'm putting win in quotes is because of this documentary that I saw called Vigilantes Incorporated. And it's a documentary by Greg Palast, in which he shows how in Georgia in particular, there was some hanky-panky with regard to suppressing the vote. There's a law there in Georgia, a law that was originated by the Ku Klux Klan, surprise, surprise, in which a person can question a voter's right to vote with no need to provide a rationale for why they are questioning their right to vote. And what has happened is that, now you're sending people into a hassle just to be able to vote. I had a hassle just to vote in Georgia. They're making it very hard. And over 40,000 people were denied the vote because a couple of people just questioned whether they had the right to vote. Convicted felon Trump is talking about ending a person's birthright to citizenship, using the military to deport masses of people, some of whom may be here with papers, and some may have papers, but the kids may have papers, but the parents don't. And that's an example of ending birthright citizenship, because if the parents get deported, then the kids will have to go too, if the family wants to stay together. You have Nazis marching in Columbus, Ohio. And I think that it's just going to get worse, because convicted felon Trump is really out to destroy America, and I believe he will destroy America. That's personally what I believe. I think that what we're going to see are increased racial attacks on Black people and brown people. I think kids are going to start getting attacked at schools, especially if you're in a school with largely white population. There have been reports that even the MAGA people of color who supported Trump, who supported his horrible agenda, once they try to integrate with the white MAGA supporters, are being told, no, we're not interested in having any kind of relationship with you. So it's going to get really bad. And I really feel for you all that you're having to deal with that. And yet, despite that, because we don't know if this election really was fair and square, I would ask that we not turn on each other, please. Let's not point the finger, because then we're dividing ourselves. And should we find out that he wasn't properly elected, you've made some enemies that you didn't need to make because you pointed fingers and said bad things. So I would say wait and see, monitor Vice President Harris's efforts to explore what's going on in what happened in the election. Monitor Greg Palast, who is doing his thing again to look at what happened during the election. So just wait and see. So I'm looking over here there's a little eye. I'm assuming that means viewers, and I don't see any viewers. So if there's anybody here, what you should do is send me a note in the chat. Okay, send me a note in the chat to see if there's anybody here, because I'm not going to just talk if there's nobody here. Or maybe I should anyway, just to practice this. So let's talk a little bit about why you or somebody you know or somebody you love might be thinking about leaving the United States. I think it's really important to be clear on why you're leaving. I left because of Donald Trump 2016. I saw the way the country was going, and it was very disturbing. And I thought, I've been an activist for many, many years, and I'm not willing to be aggravated by all this after all the time that I've put in fighting for human rights, fighting for LGBTQ rights, just fighting for human decency. So, I had retired from my business, and I have a friend that I've been knowing for many, many years. And she told me that I had permission to retire from being an activist. Of course, I couldn't do it, but anyway. So I just thought, there's no reason for me to stay. There's just my child and my grandchildren, and, their family, they're doing well. They didn't really need me for any help or assistance. Because I only live on Social Security, my income is low by US standards, but by Rwandan standards, it's a very good income. So those were the two reasons: the political situation in the United States, and economically, I could live better in a developing country than in a place like the United States. So that's why I left. So you want to think about very clearly why you want to leave as well, because that's important to know. Connected to that is where you'd like to settle, what country you'd like to settle into. One of the things I don't hear other YouTubers talk about is the importance of considering your values. There's a reason I'm in Rwanda and not in Ghana or Sierra Leone or South Africa, or, any of those other places. And the reason I'm in Rwanda is because I learned how committed they are to fighting climate change, how committed they are to environmentalism, the progress they've made since the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994, how their parliament, I think, had the largest percentage of women in the world at one point. I'm not sure what it is now, but it was over 60%. So I thought, that's a country with my values. So frankly, I didn't even need to come visit it. I watched a lot of videos, and I want to recommend, if you're interested in Africa, that you watch videos by Wode Maya, Unapologetic Nomads, or Stephen Ndukwu, Ndukwu, because they do really great videos highlighting a lot of positive aspects of Africa. So it was important for me to come to Africa. My journey started when I did African ancestry and found out that I'm of Sierra Leonean heritage on my mother's side and Angolan heritage on my father's side, and Irish on the slave owner side. So it's important for you to do your research. I came to the continent in 2018, and I went to 5 different countries. Went to Sierra Leone, Liberia, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, and South Africa. And that was really a wonderful experience because I just saw a lot of things I didn't expect to see. I saw a lot of things that were very moving, and I just developed a deep love for the continent and for its people. And yet, I'll be honest, there are some places in Africa I would not live because of the poverty, because of the weather, because people aren't taking care of their environment. One of the things that really appealed to me is that Rwanda is one of the cleanest countries in Africa. That really appealed to me, that people who live in such a beautiful, beautiful environment were serious about taking care of it. That really appealed to me. Let's see. So know what your values are, and you want to find a country whose values are close to yours. Another thing that was important to me is finding a country that was not corrupt. And so the fact that Rwanda has a very active anti-corruption program, and you hear about people getting arrested and sent to prison. The last one I heard about was some school official who was doing something with the desks. They don't play. If the police officers solicit as little as like $5,000 from you, $5,000 is less than $5 US. They not only get kicked off the force, they can never work for the government again. So this is a country that's serious about working for the people, eliminating corruption, and I'm just proud and very happy to be here. So, but you got to know what's important to you, and you look for that in the countries that you're researching. You want to research the quality of life and the cost of living. You've got to look at your budget to see what you can afford, and what you can afford, or your budget has to include saving money every month, because you don't know what may happen, okay? One of the things that I'm learning is that you don't come to a developing country looking for a job. You come here to create a job. You come here to create a business, or you come here to live a life where you're still creating jobs, even if you're living like me, kind of like a life of leisure. because I still hire people to help me clean my house. I hire people to help take care of outside my house. I hire, let's see, people have hired cooks. People have hired guards. I have a guard at my house that I'm building, and he's like become like my grandson. And when I go out of town, he comes to the house that I'm living in and takes care of my 2 cats for me. And so, I'm a job creator, if you will. You don't come looking for a job. You got to think about how can I, if you're not retired, how can I create a business, make enough money to cover my living expenses and be able to put some money aside every month. That's what you want. Another thing for you to consider is the language that's spoken in your chosen country. Even though Rwandans are learning English, it's a recent phenomenon, and many don't feel comfortable speaking the English language. They feel much more comfortable speaking their tongue, which is Kinyarwanda. Their language is Kinyarwanda, which is so complicated. I'm learning it. It's very complicated. The syllables are long. It reminds me of Japanese with all these long syllables. So understand what language is spoken. And even though people say, like I've gone to other African countries and supposedly they speak English, but they much prefer, like in Kenya, they much prefer to speak in Swahili. So understand that. Understand how much your rent would be. What accommodations would you need? And what would your rent be? How much for transportation, food? If you have children, what school fees would you have to pay? Recreational costs. If you want to travel, how easy is it to travel? Do you want to buy a car? I bought a car. It was very expensive. Sometimes I think, I should sell that car and use that money toward my house, but I'm not going to do that. So, those are the kinds of things you need to think about when you're considering moving to another country. You got to know your resources. What are your skills? The digital nomads, I'm not exactly sure what that is, but the people, I guess, who work online and can work anywhere seem to do pretty well. They know how to, they have skills and they can make money off those skills. So I really admire them. They tend to be younger, but I really admire them. For example, let's say that you want to come here and open up a barber shop because you're a barber. Now, I understand in the United States now, haircuts are going for like $40, $50, up to $80. Well, I just got my hair cut and it cost me $2. So that's how much you're going to earn here, because people are not going to pay that kind of money at a barber shop. And by the way, my $2 includes not only the cut, but there's a shampoo lady who will come and wash my hair for me, okay? So when I go home, no loose hairs. So you got to think about that. If you're only going to make $2 a customer, how many clients do you need each day in order to get your desired income for the month? So those are the kinds of calculations you have to make. So you maybe you get, let's say you have 10 customers a day, and that's $20 a day. And times 30 days is what, $600? I'm saying dollars, but I mean francs. But $600 a month. Well, you got to live in an apartment that's maybe $300-$400, no more than $350, so that you can have money for your food, transportation, your professional fees. So those are the kinds of things that you need to think about. And remember, you need to save every month as well. So you got to assess your skills, your savings. Don't think you're going to come in here and just because you have certain skills as a barber that people are suddenly going to, oh no, they're going to pay me $10. No, they won't. Not when they can go down the street and get a cut for two. Now, if you're able to like really do some dynamite things with people's hair and get a reputation and a strong clientele, then maybe you can slowly increase your fees. But that's going to take months, if not years, in order to get people to pay more, substantially more than they're accustomed to. So you need to know that. So you also need to be aware of your options. Are you able to start a business? And if so, again, remember, people don't have a lot of money to spend on frivolous things. So people need money for food, they need money for housing, they need money for transportation, they need school fees for their kids, they need clothing. So if you got to think in terms of, hair care, of course, so you want to think in terms of those necessities that people are spending money on. And can you make money dealing with those necessities in that area? You want to think about, can you live on your retirement? Different countries have different levels of expenses. The expenses in this country have gone up since I've been here in the last 3 years. And I'm sure it's because with the influx of Black Americans, we have more money, so we get charged more money. So just be aware of that. There's like a black expat tax that you get charged just because you are a Black expat. I met a woman who was very smart. She had an assistant, Rwandan assistant, and he would go and negotiate prices and things for her. So she was saving money by having that relationship with him. That was very smart. The other thing you want to look at is what kind of government? I already talked about corruption and that kind of thing, values of the government. But for me, I would avoid some of the right-wing governments that are popping up in Italy, Finland, Slovakia, Hungary, Croatia, and the Czech Republic. I would avoid those countries. As a Black person, it was very important for me to live in Africa, retire here. This is where I intend to die. So, you got to know what your values are and what's important to you. Another issue is, are you willing to obey the law? Different countries have different laws. South Africa, for example, has the best constitution that I've ever read. I'm not sure how well it's followed, but I think you should read the constitution of any country you're planning to attend, because you need to understand the laws, where they're coming from. I have a copy of the Rwandan constitution. I haven't read it yet, even though it's been 3 years. But I do have it, and I do pull it out from time to time to take a look. Understand that there will be a culture shock. The foods will be different. The stores will be different. And you need to think about, can you live without certain stores or products? Can you live without Walmart, Starbucks, Target, graham crackers, Oreos? Actually, I think I have seen Oreos here. But can you live without that? Because you may not have access to it. So that's something to think about. The food is different. We don't have fast food. When we go to a restaurant, it takes a good 45 minutes for our food to come out because it's freshly made upon order. So it was annoying at first because we're so accustomed to getting our food, very quickly. But after a while, you learn, don't go to a restaurant real hungry, okay? Because you're going to sit there for an hour before you even get your food. Sadly, only 12% of the food in Africa is organic, and the GMO people are making inroads into the country, even here in Rwanda. What's happening is that with the potato farmers, they're finding that the late crops tend to have problems, disease or something, and so the GMO is supposed to help them. Fortunately, I have a friend, she and her family run a farm, and they're going to be growing potatoes, and that's where I'll be getting my potatoes from, is from her, because I know they will be organic and non-GMO. I guess finally, what I'll say to you is that nothing tastes as good as freedom. And the freedom that I enjoy here in Rwanda is freedom from racist attacks, freedom from microaggressions, freedom from white supremacists, freedom from police murders, freedom from a dual legal system that grants the rich, people like convicted felon Trump, certain rights and privileges that my brothers wouldn't have, and free from the psychological torment of being a victim of domestic terrorism in your own country. So with that, I will stop. I went less than 30 minutes. I went 26 minutes. I think because I'm on the cheap, free version, I don't know if I have anybody that's chatting or anything. So anyway, I will stop, and I will thank anybody who's here, even though the I still says 0, but I'll thank anybody who was here who had a chance to listen. And at least I practiced this until I can do my own video later. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good night.